In this video, we will show you how to properly size your VDI-in-a-Box infrastructure for your intended workload. VDI-in-a-Box utilizes a streamlined architecture to provide virtual desktops simply, with only off-the-shelf servers with direct attached storage. These servers can be of different sizes and from different manufacturers. Each server runs a hypervisor of your choice, and VDI-in-a-Box's virtual appliance runs on top of that hypervisor. You have the ability to add and remove servers on the fly, and VDI-in-a-Box will automatically balance your desktops evenly across your grid of servers, fully accounting for the differences in server capacities. In our example here, we are looking to build a VDI-in-a-Box environment for 200 users. We have 4 off-the-shelf servers that will support 50 concurrent users each, which gives us the ability to run the 200 desktops necessary for our deployments. To make this grid highly available, we simply add a 5th server to the grid, and VDI-in-a-Box will employ an N+1 model to achieve high availability, turning our new server into a hot spare. The grid will load balance automatically, resulting in 40 desktops running per server, and in the event of a server failure, the remaining servers will run 50 desktops each until the failed server is repaired and rejoined to the grid. VDI-in-a-Box is an out-of-band management component. Because we will run on your choice of hypervisor, ensure that you follow all recommendations provided by your hypervisor vendor in regards to resource allocation. When looking at sizing your deployment, there are 4 key components to consider: CPU cores, memory, disk speed, and storage capacity. When determining the amount of CPU power necessary, it is important to note that you should be able to generate between 6 to 10 desktops per CPU core. For faster hyper-threaded processors, you should be able to generate up to 12 desktops per core, depending on the type of usage that the desktops will receive. Multimedia-heavy usage will utilize more system resources, so it is important to consider the type of work that will be done. When allocating RAM, it is safe to assume you will be assigning between 512 MB and 1 GB to a Windows XP desktop, and 1.5 GB to 2 GB to a Windows 7 desktop. We will also reserve 2 GB of RAM per server. 1 GB of this is used for the hypervisor, and the other gigabyte is used by the VDI-in-a-Box VDI Manager appliance. VDI-in-a-Box will not use more than 90% of the available resources available to prevent lockups or errors, so leave an extra 10% buffer to account for this. When considering storage, the faster the better. We recommend at least 10K SAS drives, with 15K SAS drives preferred. SSDs provide the best performance, with 6,000 IOPS versus 175 for a 15K SAS drive. Windows XP desktops will use 5 to 10 IOPS, and Windows 7 desktops will use between 10 and 20. You will need roughly 4 disks for every 25 users in your deployment. SSD drives provide the absolute best performance, roughly 30 times faster than SAS drive alternatives. The primary disadvantage to SSD usage is the high cost per gigabyte, so the best payoff tends to come from deployments with a small number of golden images. To determine how much disk space you will need for your deployment, first you will need to determine how many golden images you will need. In our example, we wish to generate 50 desktops from 2 20 GB golden images. 2 20 gig images take up 40 gigs, which we then multiply by 2 to ensure we have enough overhead for image transfers. This brings us up to 80 gigs. In addition, the VDI-in-a-Box appliance will use roughly 70 gigs of disk space. Each linked clone that we generate will take roughly 15% of the 20 gig golden image that it is cloned from. Multiply this by the 50 linked clones that we wish to create, and we arrive at 150 gigs for the user's desktops. We added this some extra space for swap and transient activity, and we arrive at a total of 400 gigs. It would be advisable to leave extra room for growth as well, so we say that we will recommend between 500 gigs and 1 terabyte per server so that there is plenty of room. VDI-in-a-Box uses your direct attached storage to store your golden images, desktops, and system state information. Redundant copies of all of this data is stored on every server in your grid. For this reason, RAID 0 is sufficient for a multi-server grid and will provide you with better performance. You can optionally use RAID 1 or 1+0 to provide additional redundancy. Though this increases the number of disks necessary, it is advisable for a single server grid. You can see in this chart that while our CPU, disk, and storage capacities can support more desktops, our memory column is the limiting factor, only allowing us to generate 55 XP or 27 Windows 7 desktops. In the future, if we wanted to add more desktops to this server, all that would be necessary would be an addition to the RAM, as the rest of the machine will already be capable of hosting more desktops. To download a free trial, please go to Citrix.com, select Products, and VDI-in-a-Box. For more instructions, please see the Getting Started with VDI-in-a-Box series of videos at citrixtv.com, or see our documentation at support.citrix.com/VDI-in-a-Box. Thanks for watching.